This is Mount Massive.
Yodel.
This week's topic is the biggest bust of all time in football. So it could be pro or college. Can be from any time frame. I don't really care. So this is all time. This is just for you. I have my own reasonings. Sure, you guys have yours. I'm going to start with Muff. Go ahead.
Are you going 5-1 or just one at a time?
I didn't even rank mine, to tell you the truth. So it's however you want to do it.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to say they're in any specific order. I just didn't know if we were going to 1-1-1, if we were just going to go down. So first for me, as far as just first on a list, is Tate Manderich, offensive tackle, Green Bay, who was an absolute animal at Michigan State. He was drafted in 1989, round 1, pick 2. Was an All-American offensive tackle. Was at the time called the best offensive line prospect ever by Sports Illustrated, and earned the nickname the Incredible Bulk. Fell very hard very quickly. Later admitted to steroid use in college and struggled with painkillers, and was out of the league within 2 years by 1991. And let's not forget that was the 89 was the draft class of Barry Sanders, and Barry Sanders was selected 1 pick after Tate Manderich. So Green Bay missed out on that. Next up, I have Ryan Leaf, obviously quarterback. Went to the San Diego Chargers from Washington State. He was drafted pick 2, round 1. Gone down in infamy as the worst draft pick in NFL history by many people. Many felt that he was a better professional prospect than Peyton Manning at the time after his career at Washington State. His career, he threw only 13 touchdowns and 33 interceptions, out of league by 2002. And obviously he had a lot of other issues after that with substance abuse, and has become at this point a more positive figure when it comes to substance abuse and trying to steer people away from that lifestyle. Number 3, or the third person I have, is Fred Rouse, wide receiver for Florida State. At the time, he was the number 5 player nationally, number 3 wide receiver in the 2005 class. This was, again, just in his Florida State time. He was 6'4", 205, was one of those huge Florida prospects that they had coming out. He was the state's number 1 player, a 5-star recruit, top 5 nationally, and he was actually ranked regardless of position. I think he was coming out at that time as the athlete. But in his entire career, he finished with only 6 catches for 114 yards in a touchdown in 11 great games. He went to UTEP, then to JUCO. So obviously this is a fall from grace as far as athletic prowess. And he went to Florida State, and he had offers from pretty much everybody, including Alabama, Texas, Miami, and Florida. He was never in the NFL when undrafted in 2011. Next, I have quarterback Dane Crist, Notre Dame, and then ultimately at Kansas as well. He was a 5-star. He was the number 1 pro-style quarterback, number 22 overall in the 2008 incoming class for colleges. Didn't do anything his freshman year. He was the backup to Jimmy Clausen. He was expected to be the guy in 2010 and began the season as starter and took most of the snaps in his first 8 games, and he was benched following a loss to Navy in which he threw a pair of interceptions, and that would be his final start in a Notre Dame uniform, as then freshman Tommy Reese started the rest of the season. And Crist ended up transferring to Kansas for his final year of eligibility, where he went with Charlie Weiss at the time, and completed under 50% of his passes, only 4 touchdowns, 9 interceptions for a 1-11 Jayhawks team. But remember, it's Kansas, so what do you expect? So his entire career was over about 3,500 yards, 20 touchdowns, 18 interceptions, 5-10 as a starter. And last on my list is Ryan Paraloo, quarterback LSU. This is the story of what could have been in Baton Rouge. 8 touchdown passes, redshirt sophomore during the national title year in 2007. He had a lot of off the field issues, but he was the nation's number 1 dual threat quarterback under Les Miles, starred at Jacksonville State. But by that time, he was a forgotten talent, and he was already had that bust label. Submitted his name for the draft, but instead played for Hartford Colonials of the United Football League, and he did wind up winning a Super Bowl in the New York Jets organization. But that's about it. So there's my 5.
I'm going to go next. This is very much based on my opinion and my life and how I feel. Ryan Leaf, because I'm a Chargers fan. If you need all the info, see Muff. RG3. I can give you all the stats, but basically, what a bright shining star, and then just faded away. Then my Ohio State busts. Tate Martel. He was rated as a 5-star recruit, second best dual threat quarterback, 5th best quarterback in his class. Originally committed to the University of Washington. He changed his commitment to Texas A&M and then decommitted from there, finally landing at Ohio State. And then he transfers to Miami. He gets beat out there, switches to receiver, then back to quarterback, then gets suspended for a year, transfers to UNLV, gets hurt, and retires. Lots of potential there. Never lived up to the hype. Noah Spence. He was a 5-star defensive end in his first 2 seasons at Ohio State, 8 sacks as a sophomore, fails 2 drug tests, permanently ineligible in the Big Ten. He transfers to Eastern Kentucky. He made the most of his second chance, ended up going to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, but think about what he could have done at Ohio State. To me, that's a bust for me. And finally, for me, the big one, Maurice Claret. And his only season at Ohio State, he dominated, was the Big Ten Freshman of the Year, won a national championship with Ohio State, but with his off-field issues, had to leave Ohio State, entered the draft 2 years later, tried to get in early, got selected by the Broncos in the 3rd round, never played an NFL snap. Probably could have been something had he kept his nose clean. Probably could have won more national titles.
Yeah.
Like, really kept his nose clean? Was that his issue?
I don't think that's maybe. I don't. He
I was
definitely was.
curious. I'd
involved.
never heard that. I was
Either
just curious if that
confirm or
really was an
deny.
issue or not.
That wasn't an issue, but I don't know if it was necessarily the nose variety.
Gotcha. Just curious, when you're talking about Ohio State, was Cardell Jones on like an honorable mention for you?
He wasn't. I mean, NFL wise, he was a bust, but the man took us to the Natty, so I can't.
Okay, that's what I was curious. Like in the NFL standard, would you see him as a bust?
Yes,
Okay.
but like he also like he gets this weird pass because he has the national title. He did do all those things at the end, and he gives back like crazy.
Okay.
So like I can't knock him. There's a lot of great things that man does in the city of Columbus. So, Alex.
So my list is more recent, and I think it comes down to how we talk frequently on Mount Massive that
Yes, we're old. You're young. We know.
I'm a different time frame, and mine are all I've realized A, quarterbacks, and B, good in college, bust to the NFL. So I just went based on what I think.
That's fair.
So I had Jamarcus Russell. He was the first overall draft pick in 2007, I believe, for the Oakland Raiders. Bust. Johnny Football, Johnny Manziel, went to the NFL. Bust. Vince Young, bust. Matt Leinart, who was the 10th overall pick in 2006, won a national championship, won the Heisman as a junior. Bust. Brady Quinn. He left Notre Dame with 36 school records to do absolutely nothing really in the NFL. An honorable mention, Reggie Bush, because I do feel like he did something in the NFL, but not nearly what he could have done.
So, of your list,
Yes.
I thought about going your direction. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look at Johnny Manziel,
Yes.
I look at Brady Quinn, because they were going to make, I was going to do almost identical to your list. Johnny Manziel and Brady Quinn, you kind of had bust written on them because they were going to bust. Vince Young, in that era of football, was more your Michael Vick type quarterback, if I'm not mistaken, right? And that was a new thing.
Yeah.
The only one that I was like, yeah, that's a legitimate, should have been something. Aside from Jamarcus Russell, who I didn't think about, Matt Leinart.
Yes.
Should have been something.
Yeah. When he went to Arizona, we all thought he was the next big thing there.
Yes. Like that's a Carson Wentz type quarterback.
Yeah.
And it was a bust.
Yeah, I will agree with you. The other three were kind of like good in college, but whether or not it translated to the NFL was kind of up for question.
Yeah.
But still, in my mind, like where I came from, I watched how good they were in college and
Right.
wanted them to translate to the NFL, and they didn't.
Troy Smith
kinda-
is another one of those for Ohio
Yes.
State where like everybody was
Yes.
like, oh, he's gonna, and I was like, it's not gonna translate.
Maurice Clarett almost made my list, and then I
Yeah.
figured he'd be on yours. And he was going to be an honorable mention type. Do I replace someone with him? And I was like, these were the five that naturally just came to my
Right.
mind, so I wanted to stick with them.
So if you, the listener, have a Mount Massive topic, hit us up. And that's Mount Massive.
They're like, hee-hoo.